Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Penix. And it's Senior Bowl week, and we are here live from Mobile, Alabama. Our favorite week of the year to cover the NFL. We're going to do a whole Senior Bowl preview, just kind of basically naming names of guys we're looking out for. We also have interviews with Washington quarterback Michael Penix Jr.
Yes.
And Tennessee quarterback Joe Milton. We know Joe Schoen had an interest in a Tennessee quarterback last year. They've pulled from that that Josh Heupel Tennessee scheme in the past. So excited to put that out here. Justin, how you doing? How's the first couple of days in Alabama been for you?
It's been good, man. We have some better access this year, so we're going to be doing a lot more player interviews. We banged out 6 on Monday. It's my goal. I want to get a little over 10 by the time the week ends. And, by the time that you're listening to this, hopefully we will be at the Senior Bowl practice and we'll be watching some football. And, man, if that's not one of our favorite things to do, I don't know what is.
Yeah, and the guys we got to talk today are players we are really looking at, right?
They're like good.
Like Zach Pearsall, the wide receiver out of Florida, right? Like he just seems like someone who would fit perfectly in a Brian Dable scheme. I think he's going to live in the slot in the NFL, but he's got outside versatility a little bit too. He can go make plays, good route runner. Javon Baker out of UCF, we got to talk with him, and he basically, his mindset for everything is just he's a dog.
Kill.
Yeah, he's just like, I want to kill, I want to be a dog. That's all I want to do. And this guy has like highlight plays all over the field.
Yeah.
Julian, our former intern who works for UCF now, was like putting us on to him, and he said his like favorite highlight play was a block he had.
Yeah, even though you said he had like 21 yards per catch, right?
Yeah, it's 21 yards per catch, 1,100 yards, like crazy plays. And he's like, yeah, my favorite play was a block we had for our running back to set the record. So he's either saying the right things or he's just built like that. And then the quarterbacks we get to talk to. And then the guy that I really love talking to, and I think you probably saw this by my tone in the interview. Was NC State linebacker Peyton Wilson, who I do have a video breakdown coming out later this week on. And I just think he's someone who has an injury history, right? And he's going to be a big time, like, well, this is why it's not going to work kind of guy. But would you watch him play? It is controlled chaos at the linebacker position, right? Like he plays fast, aggressive, but a lot of these, fast, aggressive linebackers in college, they don't know how to play linebacker. They just run and chase. He even plays his responsibility while also being aggressive, baiting quarterbacks in zone coverage. So those interviews, some of those will roll out, over the month or so. But it was really fun to talk to some of these guys and just see the answers they had ready to be down here.
Yeah, Peyton Wilson seemed like a genuinely good dude. Definitely didn't seem like he was kind of faking it and put it on a show. He actually mentioned, I don't know if this is going to make like a socials clip or whatever, but he mentioned at the end, he was like, what are like 3 traits that really kind of like describe you as a football player? And he went to like faith, family, football. I'm like, oh, that's kind of different. And then we brought up, hey, well, if you're talking to the Giants, say smart, tough, dependable too while you're at it. So we got a kick out of that. Peyton, something with Wilson too is he's smart. He's not just fast. I did read that he was a former safety. So he's not just the sideline to sideline fast guy. He talked about the work that he does, and and his defensive coordinator, how it helped him at school. Really, he plays fast because he understands what's happening in front of him. I'm so excited to see Peyton Wilson this week, and a lot of what you're going to be watching from us will be on here, Talking Giants, but also then subscribe to JM Football, follow JM Football on all socials, Talking Giants too. We'll be retweeting and sharing everything because there's going to be a lot that's going to be on socials that may not make YouTube necessarily, because we're going to be putting out a lot of clips and a lot of stuff from social. So JM Football, Talking Giants, Bobby Skinner, Justin Penix, you know where it's at.
First, want to thank a few people. We got Josh Garabello. He loves Tommy DeVito. Dirty D. I think we already did these, actually.
Yeah, we did Dirty D because I made that AC/DC joke.
Yeah, that's how I remember it. Anyways, Justin, who are these people that we said for the second time in 2 episodes?
These people went to patreon.com/TalkOfGiants for $2 a month plus some other tiers. Hey, we'll be sharing some extra Alabama stories, too, with the Patreon this week. So patreon.com/TalkOfGiants, $2 a month. You know the drill. Thanks to our patrons. We appreciate you.
All right, Justin, before we get into these interviews, want to just kind of talk about some of these players. And, going into this week, right, we are essentially 2 weeks removed from the Giants playing football and covering the end of the season for that. So we don't have, like, full profiles on a lot of these guys, but we went and did some casual watches and looked at them. And the guy I want to talk about first is South Carolina wide receiver Xavier Legette, right? He is the one that really pops off at me. And, the roster and stuff said he's 6'3". Well, guess what? He came in, he measured up at 6'1", but he looks like he's 6'3" the way he plays. And he's someone that's viewed to kind of go in the second round. And that could be a great pickup for the Giants with that second, they have those 2 second-round picks. I'm very excited to see what the Giants can do with those 2 second-round picks. I feel like this draft is better. Like, I feel like this Senior Bowl, just in general, last year we came away from the Senior Bowl, man, this just didn't feel like it was filled with talent like we've seen other years. But this year, man, it feels like it's been infused where, like, there's going to be multiple first-rounders, a lot of second-round quality guys. And Xavier Legette, going to watch him, he's just like this big-bodied strider, right? Like, he goes and he ball, like, his ability to track the ball, go up, make tough catches at high point, and he's like, box guys out. But it also like has some speed to him too, right? Like, I want to see what he does at the top of routes here, right? In these one-on-one drills. I'm not going to necessarily look for him to catch deep passes, even though those will be fun. I want to see what he does on like an in route on that type of stuff, because you see some good route running stuff on film, but I want to see more and more consistently out of him. Like, I'm really excited to see Xavier Legette. And if you ask me who I think is going to come out of this, like being the most talked about guy, he would be my pick.
Really? Yeah. Legette's got 4 years of basically kind of
no production
and then
at
South Carolina.
This year came out of nowhere.
And hey, shout out to him for you see all these guys, between NIL now and the transfer portal rules, these guys kind of, duck out of school after 1 or 2 years, and then they wind up going to like 2 other schools. Legette stuck it out at South Carolina, and it really paid off for him this year. The yards per route run is awesome. He has an average after target of almost 14, while also having a yards after the catch per reception over 6, and he's 10 for 21 on contested catch opportunities this year. So seems like he had a really good all-around year. Obviously, all these guys are a little bit on the older side this week at the Senior Bowl. But, I want to go back to your initial point where you were talking about just the talent at the Senior Bowl. I got so excited last year. Like, I did a lot of corners in the secondary this year versus last year I did, like, all wide receivers and tight ends. And, like, I was really excited for Rashee Rice last year, like, almost thinking of him as, like, a first-round pick. And then his stock fell off. I was really excited for a guy like Xavier Hutchinson, and then his stock fell off. But then you have the Senior Bowl week happens, and then who are some of the names that we're talking about after the Senior Bowl week? It's like Jaden Reed and Tank Dell, kind of guys that almost came out of nowhere. Jaden Reed had like injury problems. Tank Dell was one of the smallest players in the draft last year. So I'm kind of approaching this year. It's like, you have your studs, you have your guys to watch out for. Obviously, as Giants fans, we have our positions that we're watching out for. I'm really excited I want the Senior Bowl to kind of come to me this year of who is going to stand out in these practices, who do I want to look at more after this week is done. I want to let these practices really speak for themselves, and the talent 100% is better than last year. So shout out to Jim Nagy and the team, really upping their game this year. I'm really excited.
Especially the wide receiver room. Now, Jaden Reed and Tank Dell were like some of the best receivers, had like the full week last year. I went back and watched our day 1 recap last year. And this guy didn't practice on day 2 and day 3. But you know who the first wide receiver we mentioned talking about last year after day 1?
Was it Puka?
It was Puka Nacua, right? But he didn't practice day 2 and day 3, so he wasn't at the front of our minds. His plays came in team drills, not so much as one-on-ones on that first day. Yep. So, you didn't really get like the highlights that got passed around Twitter, but look at what he was able to do. So I'm really excited for the receivers. Like, I know we mentioned Javon Baker, Alabama transfer to UCF, 1,100 yards, 21 yards per catch. And just makes these wild, spectacular catches. Like, I think he needs a lot of refinement, but like that natural ability, like understanding of leverage, is a guy who just makes guys miss. And then you see the like spectacular plays. Like, we were talking with Julian, and I'm like, dude, stop overhyping every UCF guy. And then I texted him today. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, your excitement for him is very real. This guy's a playmaker. Our interview with him was very funny because I was asking him, Justin, and I think we should put this interview out first whenever we do put him out. Actually, no, we'll do Peyton Wilson first. I was like, what's your favorite route to run? He's like, all of them. We're like, okay, but everyone's got a favorite. Yeah. He's like, I don't. I was like, all right, 3rd and 5, you got a corner playing 6 yards off. What route are you running? He's like, don't really matter to me. And then I'm like, okay, what do you like facing more, press or off? Don't matter. All right, I did the 3rd down thing again. I was like, what are you going to do to make yourself open to your quarterback? He's like, just being a dog. Killing him. Which, again, I kind of like those answers, but also
do you think those are his answers when he's talking to an NFL team?
I don't know, but I watch him play, and I'm like, this is electric football.
Yeah.
for him. So I think he's going to make some plays.
I have two other receivers. Tez Walker, North Carolina, 6'2", 200 pounds. Long speed, vertical threat, good ball tracking. I mean, we know that North Carolina offense based on some of the quarterbacks that have come out of there and some of the receivers that have come out of there too. We know it's a throw it deep offense. I'm excited to see if a guy like Tez Walker, a little bit bigger, we know he's a vertical guy. Can he run the full route tree this week? And then on the other opposite side of the spectrum, you have Malachi Corley, 5'11", 210 pounds from Western Kentucky. So he's like a career slot guy. Doesn't have like the typical weight of a slot guy, even though he's a little shorter. He is strong from the slot, at 210. He's been he's slot and yak king at Western Kentucky with a really low average depth of target. How will he handle this week against some different competition? And he's had some really good production the last couple of years. So those are, two more guys that I have for you for a wide receiver.
I want to talk about the short kings a little bit too, but first, Johnny Wilson. Have you just seen him on the screen? He's 6 foot. He's legitimately, he measures 6'6", like 6'6.5". He's legitimately just 6'7".
Yeah.
Which again,
and they're not going to work him out at tight end. Remember there was a Stanford like wide receiver, Higgins,
Elijah Higgins
last year, where he was a wide receiver at Stanford, but then they worked him out at tight end. He's not going to be working out at tight end. You don't think?
I don't think so. I think they've got him listed as a wide receiver.
Cool.
But then the short guy, like Jacob Cowling from Arizona, 5'8", but had 90 catches, 900 yards this year, 13 touchdowns. Not quite the numbers that a Tank Dell brought, but hey, these guys are, I'm interested to see how some of the smaller guys do. Roman Wilson out of Michigan, can get separation even though he may not flash as much? So the wide receivers are always our focus. Now the quarterbacks this year we're going to be talking about a little too, and I haven't done deep dives into any of these guys. But I did watch Bo Nix, right? And Bo Nix feels like the guy that at least talked about it. Is like, hey, he's probably going to be QB4. We'll see. I want him to come out here proving me wrong. Because when I watch him, honestly, and I don't know how he was able to complete his passes at such a high rate. I know he had a low average depth of target and stuff. I watched him versus Washington in the Pac-12 championship, and I saw a guy who felt rushed, felt like he didn't set his feet, and just had misses, right? Yeah. And I'm talking about on quick game. Like, I want to see him, even though he's going to be in a red jersey and not going to be hit, but a lot of times with these practice, the pressure just becomes a little overwhelming in practice. I want to see him stand in there and be accurate, like set his feet and throw the ball. Like, I'm not really worried about seeing him, pushing the ball downfield and stuff. I know the deep ball is what gets everyone's attention. That's not what I'm watching for. I want to see these guys have good timing when it's not in their offense, when they're learning on the fly, not game planning for the opponent. Because I honestly was not impressed with Nix.
No.
In the casual watching. And then Penix, he struggled versus Michigan, which is the most pro-style defense that he got to face.
Very good defense.
You'll listen to him talk. I really like listening to him talk. Like, he understands stuff, play tendency. I want to see him come out here and, be able to hang in there and make those plays, because he's not someone who's going to be a big improviser. He's had injury issues, right? So you kind of want to have some stable O-line play in front of him. But to see him just operate on a down-to-down. I'm not really looking for the wow plays out of the quarterbacks.
Right.
Spencer Rattler's going to have some wow plays down here. I want to see these guys on the down-to-down basis more so than just the highlight plays.
Yeah, and one thing that Penix talked about right at the top of the interview with him, and I didn't really think about this kind of towards the end, it's like, oh, yeah, well, you played with some really freaking good wide receivers. He talked about how this week, this is going to be the first time in a long time that he's thrown to different wide receivers. And, he doesn't have a single Washington teammate that's down here in Mobile with him. So how is he going to get along with those guys? Had a really good offense, had a really good scheme. How is he going to, he talked about, I got to be able to pick up stuff. I got to be able to get along with these guys. And it's actually funny that Javon Baker also mentioned in the interview when we talked with him, that's like, yeah, I'm actually going to Michael Penix right after this because I think they're on the same team. Hey, throw me the ball this week. Make me look good. Let's make each other look good together. So excited to see Michael Penix. The thing about Penix is that I don't know how he is under pressure. The arm can certainly flash when you have a clean pocket. The arm could certainly flash when you have guys that are running open. When you have really good wide receivers that are also helping you making you look good. I have concerns about Penix's arm strength when he is under pressure. So may not be able to see that this week, but. Really good dude. I enjoyed talking with him. I even asked him if we're related.
Yeah. I'm excited for you guys to hear the interview because he He was the one who was just willing to talk ball with us the most, and I really like that.
I mean, he is going to get an NFL team to fall in love with him because even like I was sitting there, and he's like, watch how often he smiles. Like he's trained. He's got this down to a T. Some of these guys, they're nice, but even though a little shy, little to themselves, Michael Penix is not. Michael Penix is going to have an NFL team that is going to fall in love with him, is going to fall in love with that smile, is going to fall in love with that charm, obviously going to fall in love with what he's doing on tape and how he can lead a team. But especially these guys talk to almost all these teams. It's not like the combine where you have a select few teams, I guess. Somebody's going to fall in love with Michael Penix. Very sure of it.
On the offensive line front, now it was very sad because some of the offensive linemen dropped out at the end.
Like 6 guys just dropped out right before we started recording.
Yeah, so Graham Barton, who's a tackle at Duke, who is probably going to play guard in the NFL. I think he can swing out if needed at tackle. I don't think he's going to be like some all-pro. But I put a film breakdown on him on the Jam Football channel if you guys want to check it out. Really wanted to see him at guard, and I'm sad that we're not getting to see him play there. Troy Fautanu out of Washington, who I put in the second round of the midseason mock. He's not going to be practicing. Cedric Van Pran, who another guy I did a video on last year.
Yeah, thinking he would declare.
Now the Giants have John Michael Smith, so not as important. But Cooper Beebe out of Kansas State, I wanted to see him in one-on-ones, see his lateral mobility, so I'm not going to get him. So my focus is going to go to someone like Christian Haynes out of UConn, right, who I haven't done a full watch of. But when watching Peyton Wilson, the one player who I thought had success against him was Christian Haynes, this guard out of UConn, who just looks the part of what a guard is supposed to look like in the NFL, like where he looks athletic, he's cut, he's very good in the run, gets to the second level well, like UConn had a rushing touchdown off of a block he had on Peyton Wilson. So excited to see him go down here. I think he really can flash off of the limited that I've seen him, but I was very disappointed because I thought there were some studs on the interior, and we're not getting to watch those guys. And specifically Barton and Fautanu, because those guys played tackle, but would probably play guard in the NFL. I really feel like them missing out on guard reps is, like, to me, valuable, ability to raise their stock.
Oh, yeah.
Lost on that, right?
100%. Barton, it was linked to an injury, probably.
Yeah, minor injury. I'm not sure on the other guys, but Barton was like a minor injury he's dealing with.
It's a shame, but I'm really excited to see some of the guards. Probably the interior offensive line and the interior defensive line. I think I kind of on purpose kind of left them untouched because the last couple years we've had standouts from the Senior Bowl that it's like, oh, this guy is really worth looking at. Remember Zion Johnson 2 years ago?
Yeah, we didn't have any prior on Zion Johnson, and he popped like, oh, this guy's a first rounder.
Rose to a first rounder.
Yeah, and he wasn't viewed that way going into it, and he popped up. Darnell Wright at this time last year was not viewed as a first rounder. He ended up going top 10. John
Michael Schmitz last year. I mean, people knew about him last year, but he was the best player at the Senior Bowl. Wound up being a Giant. Steve Avila. Who started for the Los Angeles Rams this year from TCU. He was a guy that popped off last year, and he was a guy that wound up being drafted somewhere.
I think he was the first guard taken off the board last year too in the second round.
So yeah, I'm kind of intentionally I want to see who is going to surprise me, both interior offensive line and interior defensive line as well.
There's one tight end I'm really interested to see, and that's Jared Wiley at TCU. He's probably the biggest guy down here. He can scoot a little bit. He's like good tempo setting up his defenders. I haven't watched him as a blocker, so I'll be interested to see how he does in some of those inline drills. But tight ends, Payne Durham is someone who flashed last year. Jake Ferguson has done well here. Daniel Bellinger was a tight end who did well down here a couple years ago too. So is there anybody else on offense that you wanted to touch on?
No. Any tackles worth?
Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma, Patrick Paul out of Tulsa, right? But even though I think tackle is going to be a need for the Giants, I'm not really. I wasn't dialed into any of these guys pre-draft going down here, but hey, they can show off what they're about
for sure.
One running back, Isaiah Davis, 6 foot, 220 pounds, 1,500 rushing yards. Where do you think he went to college?
Desjuan Johnson, Toledo,
South Dakota State.
Oh, funny story about South Dakota.
I punched Dallas Goedert in South Dakota State, who also went to South Dakota State. I sucker punched him.
That's probably why he was hanging out there.
So on defense, Cam Kinchins, Miami safety. If you guys watched the way too early draft preview last June,
what round did he go in?
Well, it wasn't a mock draft. It was just our way too early draft preview.
Oh, sorry.
I fell in love. I think he's got burst and range for days, paired with good instincts. He's had 11 interceptions the last 2 seasons, and and they're not just, oh, look, a safety had interceptions, right? Interceptions can be a very misleading stat, specifically for safeties. I really like this guy. I think we're going to look at him as a stud. I saw Dane Brugler say, like, he didn't have the most stable season, and there's people who say he could be in the 3rd round. After what I saw from the year before, I just don't see how that's possible. But we know safeties can sometimes fall. And then his counterpart, James Williams, 6'4" safety. He's going to be playing linebacker down here, right? And I put him in the midseason mock draft video, Justin. He's going to be playing linebacker. I want to see him man up on some tight ends in those drills, right? I know the safeties kind of are going to put in that. I hope they put James Williams in that role. And I want to see him take on blocks, right? Not just, he will fire downhill and lay some big hits, sometimes even recklessly too, which can lead to penalties. But I want to see how he just – I'm not looking for, like, great linebacker play because it's new to him. Mm-hmm. But I just want to see him accumulate well to it, right, and look like he's comfortable at it.
Yeah, for sure. You want to stay in the secondary?
Yeah, go for it.
Secondary is the position that I really tried to hone in on, especially as we watch wide receiver DB 1v1s. There's 2 guys from Penn State, Johnny Dixon and Kalen King. I'll start off with Johnny Dixon. I'm just going to go in order of my notes. First 2 years at South Carolina, then the last 3 years at Penn State. He's only allowed 1 touchdown since 2020. 10 pass deflections in 2022 and 3 in 2023. So I wonder why there was a little bit of a discrepancy there. 7.5 sacks and 10 tackles for loss the last 2 years. A lot of these corners, what I'm really excited about is a lot of them are very willing run defenders and willing to go in there and stop the run, but some of them have some tackling issues and some of them have some form tackling issues. Like, for example, Johnny Dixon, a little bit of an inconsistent with wrapping up, and he's an inconsistent ankle diver. But still, I like him at the release, his ability to stay in mirror and stay in phase. So I know everybody likes Penn State. Kyrie Jackson, he's a long corner from Oregon. I know you maybe don't fully love him. He had some really good numbers this year. Seems like he is a corner that is best in press man, especially being so long. Did you have any notes on Kyrie Jackson you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think there's some bad corner play, but he is 6'3", right? And if he can test well, right, like Tariq Woolen. Now, Tariq Woolen had more of an excuse because he was a wide receiver who transferred. But Tariq Woolen is someone who had, like, really bad film, but was this big, long dude with speed. And you put him in the right scheme, and he was able to thrive in the NFL. That's what I'm looking for out of Kyrie Jackson, right, is – can you test well, and have you improved on some of the stuff that you've struggled with? Again, not going to be fixed completely, but how well can he change on some of that stuff? Because there is some alarming stuff on his film as I pull up my notes on him, right? Like, again, big, long cornerback. Again, a lot of press experience, but just I want to see more dominant reps out of him as a press corner, and really use that length to his advantage. So maybe he doesn't win one-on-ones and cornerbacks, the one-on-ones are built against them. But just be disruptive with your press. That's what I want to see with him. And then if he can be disruptive as your press, then you could put him in a cover 3 system to get him started. If that's, we don't know what the Giants are going to do at defensive coordinator, but just in general.
This next player is like star, asterisk. I'm expecting this player to dominate based on the hype around him and the athlete that he is. And that's Quinyon Mitchell, 6 foot, 196 pounds, coming out of Toledo. 2,000 snaps at outside corner in his career at Toledo. 27 pass breakups the last 2 years. 5 interceptions in 2022 and 1 in 2023. Rumored 4.3 40. Everybody's going to hype up your 40, but rumored 4.3 40. He is a rare athlete and athletic, twitchy, quick, good foot speed, all those buzzwords. Mitchell falls underneath it. And apparently there's like a list of like freak athletes like this. Like Mitchell can bench this much, he can squat this much, and he's fast and he can run like a deer. So I really am expecting, even though, Toledo, who else went to Toledo, Bobby?
Desjuan Johnson, Mr. Irrelevant, had a tackle for a loss versus the Giants this year.
Mr. Irrelevant last year's draft. So I'm expecting Mitchell to come out here and have a good week. I understand Toledo and the level of competition that he's playing, but if Quinyon Mitchell wants, rumored to be this first-round player, he needs to come out here and have a really, really good week, and I'm expecting him to.
Yeah, against that top competition. Do you have anybody else? Because I have one D-lineman I want to talk about. Because I think we'll be talking about D-lineman a lot, but there's one guy I want to talk about before.
Yeah, I'll be quick. Max Melton, 6 foot, 190 pounds from Rutgers. Yes,
Bo Melton's brother.
Yes, he is the brother of Bo Melton. He's just a fun watch. I have some other notes on him, but he doesn't seem like he's a scheme-dependent player. Seems like he's a player that could be smart, tough, dependable. And hey, now that Greg Schiano's back coaching that defense, my prediction is that Max Melton is going to be a New England Patriot. I know Bill's not there anymore, but still, he kind of seems like a Patriot to me.
And we saw Christian Izine last year, who I wanted the Giants to draft in the 7th round. I put him in a mock, right? Who wasn't tall, but just like this ball of muscle, like you said, fun player to watch. He went undrafted and then became a starter day one for Tampa Bay. So. Yeah. Just because they went to Rutgers doesn't mean they're the same. But
people really like Kalen King, and this is the one guy that I hope he has. I hope everybody has a good week, right? But there's going to be some people that don't have a good week, and I have some questions around Kalen King. Does he have NFL speed? And I think this guy needs to transition out of his back pedal much sooner. I think he takes false steps all the time. 2022, he was much better graded than 2023. His advanced numbers are better in 2022 as well. Like, why? What went wrong? He had 18 pass deflections in 2022 and only 2 in 2023. And much like his teammate Johnny Dixon, their pass deflection and their ball production kind of went down into 2023. So maybe something changed in Penn State. So Kalen King is the guy that is getting more hype than Johnny Dixon, listed 5'11", 191 pounds, again from Penn State.
He barely hit that 30-inch arm length cutoff too.
I'm going to be interested to see how he does this week. I know Penn State guys, they're always a favorite, but I saw everybody kind of put him on a list of guys that they like. I'm curious about him.
The guy who I want to see buck the trend, because every year that I've been doing this since the season, this is my 4th year, there's been these edge rushers who put their hand in the dirt for the most part. They fire off the ball, and they bring power. They are muscle power. They have the size, right? Patrick Jones out of Pitt, my first year down here, right? Came down here, and to me went from a player I was intrigued by to a player I didn't want. Boogie Basham is one of those guys. Last year, Keon White and Isaiah McGuire. Now, I think Keon White had a good rookie season, but I didn't like his Senior Bowl last year. Isaiah McGuire out of Mizzou. Right, like these guys who just play with power. Like Isaiah McGuire last year versus Broderick Jones had good film against him, right? But it's like they don't have that back. Darius Robinson, the edge out of Mizzou, sized up really well, 6'5", close to 280 pounds. And this guy's a ball of muscle. But he plays strong, right? But he just does not have a bag as a pass rusher. I want to see him come down here and be able to rush the passer. I don't want to just see you try and run through guys, because if you play with that, you're just not going to do that in the NFL unless you are just a freak of an athlete, right? And even then, you have to get a bag as a player, right? You have to get that. So I want to see him down here work some of the things that he's maybe worked on, whether it's hand usage, getting the footwork better, getting him better off the snap. So I want to see him buck the trend of these guys who I'm like, hey, I want to see you down here and be able to flash. And to me, they've all fell flat. Every single guy who's kind of fit this profile has fell flat for me coming down here.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. We good on this. So we're gonna kick this to Michael Penix, quarterback out of Washington. But first, we're gonna talk to you about something.
Oh, I'm gonna talk to you about DraftKings looking for a super offer for Super Bowl 58. Oh boy. DraftKings has you covered. New customers can bet on the big game and turn $5 into $200 instantly in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use promo code WORLD. New customers can bet $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 58 with code WORLD. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-777 or 7 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus specs expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/football for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gambling resources. You'll be glad you did. Did I mention that Milton has the biggest hands?
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to hit something else.
I didn't. No, I didn't mention it. Joe Milton has very big hands.
I would hope so. He's a quarterback. You know, we were talking about in the car today, like, remember when Kenny Pickett had just the little baby hands?
Yeah. Felt bad for Kenny Pickett, who had little baby hands.
Yeah, it was like, if I felt bad for him that, like, his combine was just everyone making fun of, like, his little bitch hands. Anyways, you'll be glad you did. And here is Michael Penix Jr., quarterback out of Washington, and then we'll kick it straight to Tennessee quarterback Joe Milton. All right, we're here in Mobile with Washington quarterback Michael Penix. Had an amazing year, Heisman candidate. How you doing, man? Excited to get down here and compete?
Yes, sir. I'm doing great. How about you?
Good. So one of the first things we look down here is this is a different atmosphere, right? They're not, a full game plan for you. You're not studying the opponent, really. What do you think as a quarterback is something that you can show here that isn't just about, completing passes and getting yards?
I say one of the biggest things I feel like is adjusting on the fly, just being ready for anything that comes at me, because obviously these are guys that I haven't had much reps with, so in practice on tomorrow, that'll be my first time, throwing to somebody, to all of these guys really, I don't have any receivers, that I've been with on my team, so, just trying to find the rhythm, trying to find, see how fast these guys are, to be able to make sure I get them the ball because I know that's what they want.
What do you think is going to be the most difficult part, getting to know those guys or, not preparing for what coverages you're expecting? And, what do you think the most difficult part of this will be?
I would say maybe just getting caught up on, just trying to see these guys' speeds and stuff like that, just the connection-wise. I feel like, as far as the coverage part, I feel like I'm pretty good with that. I can read coverages pretty quick, and, I'm super excited about that part. But just the whole competition thing, it's going to be super exciting, but I'll say just definitely getting a beat on the receivers.
What do you think is the strength of, if scout comes in, hey, what is the main thing of your game that you're the most proud of? What would that be?
Just my perseverance. I feel like just continuing to battle, through hardship and, always make sure that, I'm keeping my head up even when moments may not be in my favor, So, I feel like I'm definitely somebody that can, get through adversity. I've shown it before, and I know it will be adversity coming on forward in my career as well, but I'm super excited for every moment.
What's the most important part of this week for you? Because obviously you have the games out there, you have your film out there. So is it the chance to talk to all these teams this week, or is it the work that you're going to be doing on the practice field?
I would say all of it is important to me, but I feel like something that's a lot different that I didn't have, none of us had was just these coaches having the opportunity to have these coaches not just on the field with us, coaching us, but in our meeting rooms, just seeing how we prepare, seeing how we go about our day, and especially how we prepare in the meeting rooms each and every day to get ready for practice, get ready for a game. I feel like that's going to be something special, and I'm super excited to allow them to see. So.
Yeah.
So you're obviously being prepped for the draft process. What is something that maybe you're looking to improve on as you get to the next level? Whether it's, getting used to something what do you think is an area that you want to really improve on going to the next level?
To improve on, I'll just say continue to stay consistent, and continue to stay the course, because I know that, it's not going to always be perfect, especially at the next level, it's going to be a different speed, you're playing at the highest level at that point, so it's just for me, just adjusting to that, I know I won't have any problem with that, but I know initially, just trying to catch the pace, just see how everything is operating, at that high level, but I'm super excited for it, and I can't wait.
One of my favorite things to hear quarterbacks do is talk about an individual play and all the nuances in it. Is there a play that you've had in the past for whatever team that you recall and you like to talk about, break down what happened on the defense? Is there a play that comes to your mind where you're like, man, this was where I was really able to process and show off?
I'll probably say the Oregon play 2022. Whenever I threw the touchdown to I think, yeah, we went ahead by one on that touchdown, to my guy Taj Davis, because it was a play that we ran two times in the game where I hit the out route twice, and then the defense, they caught a beat on it. They thought they caught a beat on it. They changed the coverage to like a cover 2 shell, and they had the corner trying to jump the out route, and instead of that, I saw the corner squatting, and I hit the whole shot, before the safety got there. I feel like that was probably one of my better plays.
I'm excited to go find those first 2 plays and then come and watch that after. So that's
the first one was on the first drive.
So you played Oregon twice this year, beat them. Is there what do you do and for a team like, hey, we beat them, it's hard to prepare for a team a second time like that you were able to see from their defense and learn from?
Man, just trust the process, just trust our preparation. I feel like, it is tough to beat a team twice, but with the coaches that we had and the way that they prepared us each and every day, it was definitely hard for that to happen for us, so I feel like everybody had a lot of buy-in and everybody was super locked into the whole game plan for that week, and we executed it well in the biggest moment. So, man, it was a blessing.
What's a quarterback that you've watched, whether it's a guy in the league now or in the past, that you really like, not emulate, but just really enjoy their game?
Man, I'll say so my first favorite quarterback was Michael Vick. Obviously as a kid, I believe everybody loved Vick. Man, he did a lot of great things for the sport, and I was always watching him, and he was a runner. He could run, but he also could throw the ball as well. He ran a little bit more than me. But at that time when I was younger, I was quite a bit of a runner more than a passer than I am now. But Michael Vick, he definitely was a guy that I looked up to. And then as I got to high school, I liked Teddy Bridgewater when he was at Louisville, doing a lot of great things at Louisville. And he was a guy that he fit my offense, like the way that I played. In the high school level, I can throw first, but I can run. But that was like the second option, and he's a humble guy, also from Florida as well. So he was somebody that I looked up to.
I'm from Florida. Where in Florida are you from?
Oh, here
Tampa.
we go.
Tampa. Okay, I'm over on the East Coast in Brevard.
Okay.
What high school did you? I should have looked this stuff up.
Tampa Bay Tech.
Okay, Tampa Bay Tech.
Yes, sir.
Super Bowl set, 49ers and Chiefs. Who's your pick?
Dang. It's hard to bet against Pat Mahomes. It's hard to bet against him, man. So.
I agree. All through the playoffs, I'm like, I just can't pick against Patrick Mahomes. If a non-quarterback wins the MVP, who's it going to be?
If it was Kansas City, it'd be
Yeah.
Kelsey. If it was San Francisco, it'd be Christian McCaffrey.
Okay. Love it. You talked about at the top how you're going to be throwing to different wide receivers this week, but the wide receivers you were throwing to at Washington are awesome, right?
Yeah.
So talk about some of those guys and how you learned their tendencies, how you learned, where do I got to put the ball, how did you get the best out of those receivers, and how do those receivers make you better too?
I would say just repetition, and that's the biggest thing that I was saying about this week. You might not get as much reps with the same guy as you would with your guys, at your school. So that's going to be the biggest thing, just trying to get as much reps as we can, and just trying to make sure that everybody's on the same page, as far as like play wise, make sure everybody knows, they know where I want to put the ball, and I know where they want to get to get the ball. So I feel like that's going to be the biggest thing.
3 traits of yourself that you consider like plus, this is the best parts of my game. 3 traits.
I'll say, first of all, I'll say confidence. I feel like I'm very confident, in all situations, pressure or no pressure. I would say just the ability to adjust on the fly, because obviously as a quarterback, you got defenses nowadays, they're starting too high shell, they're spinning down, and they're doing a lot of crazy stuff, so being able to do that, and that just leads me to reading coverages and just decision making. I feel like I make good decisions with the ball, and I know how to give my guys a chance.
Justin, I have one final question if you don't have anything else.
I just want to mention it's 8 o'clock in the morning. You've been up for a little while. You're here smiling with everything that you're saying, and that makes me feel good, and I want you to know that.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
I want to ask about your locker room's reaction to a certain college game day clip where Desmond Howard maybe was feeling himself a little too much.
No, we actually didn't. It wasn't like it wasn't like that was like a locker room thing that we saw it. You know, everybody saw it, but yeah, man, he just didn't know how to say my name right.
I think he did, and he just kind of lost his mind and thought, I don't know. But
I don't
everyone's
know.
reaction to that is like, what's going on here?
He knew how to. Actually, I can't say he didn't know how to say my name, 'cause I saw him a couple weeks before, and he said my name right. You know, maybe he was just just hype. I don't know.
Let me ask you this. I feel like learning from tough games is the best part to find out about a quarterback. That Michigan game obviously didn't go the way you guys go. Is there something that you pull from that like I'm learning, like I'm taking into the next step?
You know, I feel like they showed a lot of different looks. You know, I feel like they tried to do a lot of disguises. You know, going into that week. You know, I wouldn't. Yeah, they showed a lot of disguises. You know, I know they get their offense from the Ravens, their defense from the Ravens. You know, I believe their coach in the Ravens. They kind of like intertwine. You know, so kind of a defense, the NFL defense in a way, you know. So that I definitely take away from that. So.
All right, well, appreciate you. Good luck this week. Excited to see you spin it down here.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
All right, we're here with Tennessee quarterback Joe Milton here at the Senior Bowl. Joe, it's for quarterbacks. You guys are going to be what everyone's talking about down here. Tennessee runs a different offense, which we could talk about. What are you looking to show here in these more pro-style offenses that, you know, can dispel some things about the Tennessee offense?
That we still be able to make calls, and also still be able to process everything that a pro-style offense, processes that far as whether that being calling a play or just doing the typical pro-style things. And the splits are more condensed now, so just being able to still make every throw is fine.
So we covered the Giants, and we know Jalen Hyatt fairly well. We watched him and throughout the process last year. Mm-hmm. What do you think about, like with him? We kind of talked about the Tennessee offense of like, hey, he just kind of runs past people. I don't know if that can happen in the NFL. And then we watched him just run past guys. What was it? I know you weren't the starter last year, but what was it like throwing to a guy that you can it's impossible to overthrow?
It's great, you know, when you got people like that can just run past people, especially with guys with arms like me. You could just put the ball out there. So I feel like when you got guys that fast, you know, just give them a chance, be able to opportunity just to touch the ball.
Are you mentally prepared for multiple months of trying to convince people that, like Tennessee offense, real, I can do it, I'm real? Like, is that? Because I have a feeling it's very like annoying to go through that.
Not really.
No?
It's not too much convincing. I went to Michigan for 3 years,
nice.
So we had that type of playbooks at Michigan, and you know, just to basically just go over it again, and retrain my brain that that is liable to do. So,
what's the biggest difference that you've been told to like be ready for? Like, obviously you've been through it, but what do you think the biggest difference is? Is it just calling the plays at the line, or?
No, I just feel like it's just. I feel like everything you do is just a challenge, and going into that challenge is basically how you look at it. So if you go in the mindset of, oh man, I'm not gonna be able to do it, then you're not gonna be able to do it. So just telling yourself that everything is able to do, and you could do it no matter what. So
what do you think is the strength of your game?
The strength of my game is just being able to make every throw, and just taking care of the football, being in charge, being the leader that I was born to be.
I like to go through like certain plays. Is there a play that you recall, whether it's like this is the play I want to show, where there's, you know, reading what the safety does? Is there a play that if you were bringing it to a scout, like this is the play that represents me and I can recall?
I mean, if you just put a play in front of me and give me 2 minutes to learn it, I'm gonna learn it.
Well, no, a play that you've already had, where like this is the one, you know, this versus Alabama or versus what, this is a play that really shows off what I'm about.
There's a lot of plays like that. A specific one. I don't have one right now on the top of my head. No, I don't have one right now on the top of my head. So
have you talked to any of the guys, you know, like Hendon and stuff, to be like, what has he given you to like be ready for in this whole process?
While he was going through this process, it was my spring break, so I was able to just sit down and listen to some of his calls, and just be prepared for some of the questions that I'll be asked. So that's pretty much it, for real.
What's the most important part of this week for you? Because obviously you have all your film, you have all your games on tape. Is it getting the chance to sit down with all of these teams and actually talk to them, or what you're going to be doing on the field this week?
Just getting coaches to understand who Joe is as a person. I feel like game tape only shows so much of who I am. And you'll see me talking trash to other players and, having fun with my guys, but truly deeply of who Joe Milton is, actually. So,
is there a quarterback that you kind of grew up maybe not emulate your game after, but that you grew up watching and was really liked his game the most?
Yeah, my favorite quarterback was Cam Newton. It still is, but I watch guys like Brock Purdy, Baker Mayfield, just to get an understanding of their game. They play a little bit different from me, so just being able to understand how poised they are with their body, how they pose their front side, and be stable and drive through the football a different way.
Mentioned, big arm, you want to make all the throws, but how about 3 traits? 3 traits that you point to, these are my plus traits that I'm best at.
I don't know, man. Making every throw is one of them.
What's your favorite route to throw?
Okay.
Besides the go ball.
I've been saying this since high school. My favorite route to throw is a hitch.
Okay.
Yes, because the most completed throw.
I think the hitch is one of the most underrated routes because when it's ran well and thrown on time, it's a chain mover, but it kind of gets shit on because it's not the fun, sexy play that creates yak or down the field. But you look at NFL teams and a lot of times on 3rd and 11, they're running all curls because teams are trying to press deep. We want to challenge them vertically and come back. So it's about timing, and I think the NFL, that's to me one of the bigger differences. Timing is so important. You can't be a half a second late on that stuff. 49ers Chiefs Super Bowl. Who is your pick for that game?
That's a tough one. I don't know if I choose the wrong team. My boys at Tennessee gonna be mad at me. I don't know. It's pretty hard, man. But I got a feeling that the ball might go Brock Purdy's way.
Okay. If you picked a non-quarterback to win MVP of that game, who are you gonna pick?
Non-quarterback? I might go Rashard Rice, man. He been playing.
Okay. You mentioned you like to talk shit earlier. I love shit talking. It's one of my favorite parts of the game.
Yeah.
Is there a time where you guys scored or whatever and you were able to really just dig into somebody that you can recall?
Not that I can recall. I just like having fun, man. And once you add your twist to it, I feel like you do anything you want, to be honest.
Well, what fan base was it the most fun to
I didn't talk trash to no fan base after I scored. It was pretty much to players because I feel like the fan base is the fan base. They're not part of the football game, so I don't feel like you should talk trash to fan base. They just pay their way to get in the game and watch. They have no control of the game. So,
what's the most intimidating away stadium you've played in?
We had Ricky Pearsall say Tennessee. So
yeah, I don't know, man. To be honest, because the loudest and most intimidating stadium is Penn State. So I don't feel like no stadium in the Tennessee and SEC is pretty much intimidating for real. Because our stadium is pretty loud and can get rowdy too. So I don't know.
We have to somehow describe without you literally putting your feet on the table.
I mean, he could put his feet on the table.
Could, but
we wouldn't mind.
You have describe your shoe and sock situation that you have going on right now.
I like colorful socks and pretty much graphic things. So I got some SpongeBob and Patrick socks on. The Dirty Dance. It's pretty cool. I got them from Rock'em Socks.
They warm?
Yeah, they made them for me.
They look really warm.
Yeah,
they made them for you?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then my slippers are Marnie slippers, designer brand with some fur on them. Real fur, actually. You could take them to the cleaners.
Yeah, I got the blue ones at home.
I got the blue ones in the room.
Okay.
All right, first weird thing that's going to happen to you this week. Hopefully, NFL teams are probably going to ask you weirder questions. I'm going to take a picture of your of the fit here. Boom, throwing it in the socials video. How do you like that?
That's fine.
All right, first weird thing to happen. Media guy took a picture of my feet.
All right, Joe. I appreciate you jumping on with us. Excited to see you throw some hitches and some deep balls. We'd like to see the deep ball down here, and we'll good luck this week.
Most definitely.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, man.
All right, thank you to both those quarterbacks for jumping on. If you noticed, I told Joe Milton I had the blue version of his shoes.
Sure.
And he's like, oh, I got the blue ones too. And I was like, I was in too deep where I was going to be like, no, I'm just kidding. I don't have the blue ones of those. So I did not have those. So, hey, I'm so excited for all of our coverage down here.
Yes.
We really go nonstop. Justin, some people were asking us to do a return Simple Man Radio on Thursday.
It could happen.
I would love to just break down like Javon Baker's interview, like clip by clip.
We could do that. I mean, it's our own footage.
All right. So we'll see what we can do. So again, we'll be live streaming on this channel every day. We'll have the recap videos on Jam Football.
Yes.
One-on-one O-line, D-line breakdowns on the other channel.
Jam Football.
And, maybe like we're gonna get footage of wide receiver DBs. Maybe that's something I can put out next week on the channel.
Yeah, I want to get all one-on-ones. I want to try and get everything because usually they happen at different times. So I do want to try and get everything. And we'll be posting shorts. Like I really want to try and kill that this year. With as soon as like a big play happens, I want to try and fucking just get that footage right out of the camera, throw it on the computer, edit it up, and then get it out. That's what I want to try and do.
Yeah, it's important to follow us on socials this week. We never really plug our own socials, but at Bobby Skinner _ at Justin Penix, at Talking Giants. You're probably all following that by now. We'll be back with the recap podcast of all this on Friday. Can I say something? I'm going to go pick up Grump from the airport. It does not feel right doing a podcast in Mobile, Alabama.
Senior Bowl preview, I know.
Without Grump.
I think this was a good preview, but Grump
just doesn't feel the same without Grump.
Loves the NFL draft. I
think more than both of us.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Grump, and that's saying a lot, especially for you. Grump loves and he's also very good at it. So I'm really excited to talk with him this week to hear how excited he gets. We're going to have Robert Schmitz.
Robert Schmitz will be with us
on the streams and the recap show, I believe. So I'm really excited for this week. I'm excited that all of you are along for the ride, especially if you're listening at this point.
Yeah, so if you guys have been here since the Joe Judge Senior Bowl when I went and ambushed him, or if you're just joining us for your first one, I feel like our listeners, like our diehards, love this week more. Like it's never gonna be our most viewed week, but our diehards like love this week because I think they can see how much fun we have down here. Yep. So excited to experience it all with you guys. We appreciate you. We will see you on Friday, but we'll see you a lot in between then. Until then, let's go Big Blue.